All right, here we go. We're starting the show in 3, 2, 1.
This is the second time I've had to reclaim my property from you.
That belongs in a museum.
So do you.
Hey everyone, it's Thursday, November 30th, the last day of November. My name's Bobby Frankenberger, and you're listening to episode 31 of the Sixth World Podcast. The executive producer for today's episode is the wonderful, we always love him, James O'Neill. Thank you for supporting the show, James. As always, I'm joined by my magnificent... I always want to come up with like a new descriptor for you, Cassie, and it just always goes for some reason to like the M ones, like magnificent, malicious. But Cassie's my co-host.
Right.
Cassie Levitt, how you doing, Cassie?
What's up, Bobby?
Malicious.
Did you do a sound check, Bobby?
I did. Oh, you guys can't hear me. They can, but hey, guess what?
Okay, cool. As long as they're working.
All right.
We're gonna make this part of our
Hey,
intro now.
can you hear it now?
Yeah.
There we go, yes.
All right. Oh, you missed my Indiana Jones stinger then. So that was good stuff. Munificent Palmer in the chat room says, yes, there's another one. He's already spoken. He's jumped his queue, but, you know, I never gave him a queue, so it's okay. Our guest today is the GM of the Join the Anarchy, Ozzkore. I see him laughing over there. That's why I'm laughing. How's it going, Oz?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Join the Anarchy. How about that? How does it feel to be in a post Join the Anarchy season 1 world?
It's nuts. I'm actually really excited to just go to the next one. I'm excited to start over and take all the lessons that I've learned from the first one and apply them to a completely new season. So
That's right. Moving onward and upward. That's the saying, right? Onward and upward. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely learned a few things of like what we're no longer going to do, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
celebrity impersonations. I think that's gonna stop.
Celebrity impersonations. Yeah, I'm really terrible at impersonations, so I don't even try. I'm terrible at accents, but I try those. Oh well, yeah. So today is a little bit different of a show for those of you who are listening live. Because we hit the $100 mark on our Patreon, the milestone that we were aiming for, we're taking a lot. We're going to try taking live calls. So if you're listening live and you want to join in the Q&A section of the show, then after we answer the 2 questions that we already have, we're going to take a live call. If you jump in to the Discord, and if you don't already are not a member of the Discord for the Shadowcasters Network, then that's a problem. Fix that first by going to shadowcasters.network/Discord, and you know it'll tell you how to get. You've got time. We're not doing Q&A right away, but you got time. But do it quick because it's at the beginning of the show. Go ahead, do that, and what you'll see is a group of what are called general voice channels. They're in a group. In there is one called Live Events and Discussion. Just jump in there, and when it's time for us, and just sit there. Make sure your microphone's not muted and stuff like that. When it's time to take a live call, anybody who's in there, I'll just randomly grab somebody and pull them in to our channel, and we'll say hi, and we'll let you ask a question, and then we'll maybe talk a little bit, or we'll kick you out, or something. But we're figuring this out as we go. Yeah, hopefully we get somebody in there so that we can experiment. But in the meantime, how was Thanksgiving, everyone? In America, we had Thanksgiving, so both of you are Americans. We're not supposed to say Americans. It's in the United States.
Cassians or
No, it's what I mean. What I mean is it's kind of presumptuous to say American. There's lots of Americas.
That's true, but we don't really have a good.
But we are
reason.
American.
And we're
Yeah.
also not the only United States in these continents.
God,
so
man. So we have to say the United States of America. That's so
yeah, it's very
cumbersome. We need to come up with a better short version. USA Oosins. We're Oosins.
I think I will
Uses.
say that I'm pretty sure Americans
Americans,
is definitely
yeah.
ours,
Americans.
and
Okay.
no one will take that from us. So
Right.
if
So
you
here
want-
in
No one wants to take it from us.
no.
So here in America, we had Thanksgiving since the last show. How would you? Did you have a good Thanksgiving, Oz?
Yeah, I'm still eating the Thanksgiving leftovers, and actually today I think I ate a small bone, so I had to like Google, what happens if I eat bones, and apparently your stomach 80% of the time will break it down without issue.
Oh, what about
Otherwise,
that
I
other
might need an
20%?
I might need an endoscopy. So
Stay tuned. We'll keep you updated here on the Sixth World Podcast. Wow.
I don't know. I have an iron stomach though. I've eaten lots of stuff, so I'll be fine. I think.
We
I have faith in my body.
we had a good Thanksgiving. We've had one of those classic Thanksgivings in the past where you have to do fast food and stuff, but that was only once. It didn't happen this time. Speaking of fast food, what's your favorite fast food place, Cassie? Oz.
Fast
Favorite
food.
fast food?
Yeah, if you had to go for some fast food, where would you go?
Drive-through, Taco Bell, or Wendy's.
Yeah, I don't really like fast food, but I think Taco Bell is the only one I usually will eat if I'm going that route.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't normally do the fast food, but you choose Taco Bell when you do.
I didn't say it was a good choice, but I don't feel like fast food by default's a good choice.
I don't feel like
Well,
I don't feel like this needs to be justified in any way.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
My favorite, I guess, would be it's not like a drive-through fast food. I would say pick up sticks in California. I like those a lot, but they're regional. In-N-Out Burger, but that's not about their food. I don't eat their food. I just like them as a business and as an icon of America.
In-N-Out.
We don't have In-N-Out, but I remember
Neither do
having
we.
it in Vegas, and that was a good burger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like Boston Market. It's like
Yeah.
it's not exactly drive-through. I mean, I guess some have drive-throughs, but I like Boston Market.
So
like the
historically, I've always been like a big Wendy's fan. My first job was at Wendy's, and that probably is why I've always liked Wendy's. I was not one of those people who was like, "Oh, I worked there, so I'll never eat their food again." No, I loved it. But recently, I've started thinking a lot about Wendy's and thinking like becoming really disillusioned with Wendy's and thinking like, because when I sit down and I think like if you want X fast food, like if you want a burger, what is the place you're gonna pick to go? There's some other place you're gonna pick. If you want chicken, like there's no place that Wendy's has that you say, or there's no food that Wendy's has that you say, I gotta go to Wendy's for that. And it's been giving me kind of an existential crisis because my whole life I've liked Wendy's so much. But now I'm starting to face the fact that I might have to admit that Wendy's is not that great.
Yeah, now that you mention it, now I think I have an existential crisis. So thanks.
This is what we do here.
I mean, I usually just go to Wendy's because I find it to be like the healthier burger joint, even though it's probably not. But I mean,
because
it's
they've
definitely better.
smashed all the grease out of they've just like
Yeah.
destroyed that burger patty.
Yeah, but so that's why I go. But I definitely don't go because wait, you know what? Frosties.
Yeah, but like of course nobody else has Frosties because it's branded, you know.
But
as far as
but everybody
desserts
has, like,
go,
that kind of soft servy kind of.
I like
ice cream, but
Sonic's.
I don't know.
I like
Frosties.
Sonic's desserts better. So
I feel like I'm going to have a fat sugar intake overload with Sonic's. I try to avoid Sonic's.
you are
all that I
going
can.
to. That is, you feel that way
Yeah.
because it's true.
We ate at a Sonic when we drove down to Texas because it was the only thing we could find open in this tiny town, and it was full of disappointment.
Yeah.
They've got good hot
Yeah.
dogs. How about this part of the show?
World News Today.
Oh, I don't know why I did that. There's nothing in the news section of the notes. Let's move on.
Wait, there is news though. Dark Terrors, the new book.
That's
came
true.
out.
That's true. That is good news. Dark Terrors is
Yeah.
finally out. Thank you, Oz, for doing my job for me. The new Shadowrun sourcebook, Dark Terrors, just came out not too long ago, just a couple days ago, I think. And we plan on doing an episode about it. I think the next episode. is when we have slated for it. So I need to start reading. And we have a guest on the docket, but I'm waiting for confirmation because of work schedule stuff. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're talking about Dark Terrors next time, so that'll be fun.
And if we don't get them, it'll probably be Kevin Zarnecki, because Kevin always shows up when we need a guest last minute.
Right.
So funny thing though, the topic for today, a lot of my sources are Dark Terrors, so
yeah,
I
that's
did
a
a
good
lot
one.
of skimming.
I
I
went through looking for that one so we could be on topic.
Yeah, well, it's going to be good because it'll slice off some of the meat that we have to consume in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
We won't have to cover that. All right, so yeah, that's news. Yeah, all right. So it's Q&A part of the show, and guys, nobody showed up in the Q&A room yet. So if you want to ask us a question live on the show, get on the Discord and jump in that room. If nobody's there, we're not going to take a live call because how would we? But yeah, so if you'd like to, we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. So do it. But in the meantime, we have questions that we take offline and we look at and we answer them. We get those questions from our website, the show. Well, that's the email, is the show at sixthworldpodcast.com. I don't know what's going on with me today. The website is sixthworldpodcast.com. We've got a form there. It's just right on the front page. Just fill it out, sends it straight to us. First question today is from Will Schottler, who asks, why do you think that Jackpoint no longer has date and timestamps in the responses in the books? What do you think? Cassie, do you have any thoughts about this scandal?
I read a lot of 4th edition, and in a lot of 4th edition stuff, there's still date and times, but not for all the Jackpointers per se. I think it's just so that they don't have to be locked into a date and time, right? And especially then if they need to kind of retcon or fudge things a little bit later, because it's such a flowing history that they don't have to do it. That's a speculation. I'm not.
But what about putting date and times on the actual responses would make it difficult to go back and, because the books, certainly there's always that front page that says download from Jackpoint and it's at this time, this date and time.
That's fair.
Yeah, I feel like in general the reason that they have that front page is so that you know what the canon timeline is for the entire book,
right,
as opposed to having to. I can only imagine that. First off, it's an editing thing, right?
Because all those timestamps. Reason, right? It's probably just formatting.
Someone got sick of it.
It takes up space. It takes up good space on a page.
That's
adds some
fair.
clutter.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is also, I can only imagine the person that's in charge, like a freelancer that's in charge of doing timestamps for all of these Jackpoint things, and then having to make sure that everything has a continuity.
Side question: worst job or best job ever being that freelancer that's your job?
Probably
worst.
I think that would be worse. Yeah, I don't know if that'd be fun. But the other thing, I do know they put certain things in different sections, and if they reorder that section, it may look weird if these timestamps are no longer kind of in order.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
Oh, yeah, probably more of a practical reason though. I bet saving space is a priority.
Yeah. I mean, the timestamp thing is nice. It adds a little verisimilitude to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this is the second time I used this word on that show, huh?
I had to look it up. I saw that you put that word in the notes, and I had to look it up.
Yeah.
But having said that, verisimilitude, which means, for those of you who don't know, that means gives it a sense of reality or realness or something like that. But I think, and the reason I define it is because I think that's wrong. I think the fact that they took it out makes it more real, because timestamps and stuff like that are dated. I feel like it's not the way things are done in like in social media and stuff like that. You have the option to put a timestamp on it if you like that, but it's not a default part of interfaces. Do people even care about that anymore?
I pay attention to timestamps.
I use them a lot on Reddit, especially like when something was
Okay, it's
posted.
just me.
Yeah, I think you just don't pay attention to timestamps.
Right.
Yeah, it's important to know if the information that you're getting is outdated or not.
Maybe that's why I fall for so many hoaxes online.
Yeah. So in general though, that front page, the Jackpoint page, that gives you an overall idea of the time, but you don't need to know like the very specific timestamp, because I can only imagine like the people, like already you have to connect so many dots in the lore on your own that I can only imagine what it would be like if you add timestamps to every Jackpoint question, and then everyone's like, ooh, but this was posted right before that, so then that means this. It's like, no, nobody has time for this.
That sounds like a lot of red colored yarn on a corkboard somewhere.
Maybe it's there and you just don't have a matrix perception skill to view it. Have you considered that?
Oh, maybe. Anyway, next question is from a light grift from Discord. I had to solicit some questions from Discord because we're running dry, guys. Send in your questions, please.
Don't admit that.
I always admit it lately because if people think, anyway, send your questions. What does hooding, this is what his question is, what does hooding mean to you? Small acts of kindness, heroic sacrifice, inciting major change in your sprawl, etc. What does it mean to you?
Oh, I definitely put just the, in this case, like breaking the, like Shadowrunner's context, breaking the law for the greater good, right? That whole like chaotic good going against the right or the legit, just to better the people around you or people in your lives or your community, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'd put that I always consider, I imagine that the word hooding comes from Robin Hood, right? So steal from the rich, give to the poor. So it's like sticking your neck out for the little guy and the destitute and all that, and anybody that can't help themselves, and you do it for a reason other than to get paid. Do
you think that's a necessary part of it, that you don't get paid, or that you're doing it not for money?
I think you are doing it out of you're doing it out of principle, and whether there's money involved or not isn't the factor, right?
Sure.
Like, I'm sure there's always ways to profit off of a good feelings run.
Sure. So getting money doesn't invalidate it, but you're not doing it for the money, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I mean of course hooding, the roots of the term are in Robin Hood, but do you think that hooding necessitates actually breaking the law or doing something of that nature?
I think so. I always think of it more like chaotic good. So it's doing it, and to a good example is the law may not be anything for good, right? You may have a law that allows somebody to pollute, and you violating that law to help clean it up is hooding, in my opinion, right? So
sure.
I think the other big thing is like tackling like the tyrants or a dragon in kind of some senses here. So even like the megacorps being kind of their tyrants in their castles. Or such things.
Yeah, and I second that you have to break the law to hood, because if not, then you're talking
you're
about
a lawyer, right? You're
a policeman or you're an activist. Yeah, you're doing something within the confines of the law, the legal way, and you're doing good for your community. But hooding kind of implies that you have to go beyond the law to get something done for the community because the law has failed.
Right. You're taking things into your own hands and things, like going and cleaning up, some graffiti off the side of a building is not hooding. That's just being a good citizen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Helping an old lady across the street, you're not getting any street cred for that.
No.
Although it's a nice thing to do.
No. Right.
I think you're right about that. We don't have any.
If you cross an old lady like through a battlefield, then that is considered hooding.
What if you just cross an old lady?
It depends on what you're getting out of it.
Never cross an old lady.
The toxic shaman.
Yeah, there is a. there's another question I got somewhere. Since we didn't, well, why don't we let's save it for. I just said we didn't have a lot of questions, so let's save it. We don't have anybody who wanted to call us, so thanks for making us.
This is a great question, though. Can we answer it in the chat?
Oh,
Yeah,
did I miss a question?
Here, look, hold on. Here, I'll pretend to be the caller.
Okay.
There you go.
Here.
Can you read that question like you're
All right. Yeah.
Hold
All
on.
right.
Do a ringing
Hey,
noise.
guy.
Do a ringing noise. Oh, we got a call. Hello. You're welcome to the Six World Podcast. You're on the air.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are we
hey.
talking to?
Hey, my name is Thanos is the goat.
Hey.
Go on Twitch.
How's it going? What's your
Oh.
question? What's your question?
Oh, well, first off, I'm really excited. I listen to you guys like religiously. So, so my question is, why is the Barrens still barren? Because that's a lot of prime, super cheap real estate, and I figured, like nobody's making money on it, and primarily, like you'd think like Seattle or the UCAS government would do something about it,
That's
and kind of snatch up stuff and build.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for calling in. We're going to answer your question offline or, with you offline. Bye. Click. So that is a good question. Why is the Baron still barren? I think, so if I'm to answer that, to just straight up answer it, I think it's because the fact that it was abandoned and barren, is what allowed all the riffraff in and people to ignore it. So it's hard to clean that up, right? Like once all that's happened, once an area has just gone to hell, you have to make an effort to make it not barren anymore, to make it. And
I don't think the powers that be want to.
I agree. I think they
Right?
want to keep it.
So to keep in mind, like part of it is irradiated. There's a lot of dangerous
Yes.
gangs there.
Way out in the east
there
is.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah, the megacorps and other corps definitely keep black sites and corporate prisons and other kind of stuff that they don't want you to know is there out there. And not to mention, there are 2 dragons that live there.
Yeah.
One is the irradiated glow dragon, whose name I forget, Calendir maybe?
Yes.
And then the other one is Eurubia, right? So I don't think... And that's, and like I said, half of it is irradiated and full of ghouls, too. Let's not forget all the ghouls
Right.
that live there.
And all the gangs. All the gang
and all
violence
the gangs,
and stuff.
the mutants
like-
down there, the cutters, like all types of people, like they're there. So
And again, I think, and this goes back to like that episode a long time ago about Shadowrunning and like all of that. I don't think that the corporations and the government want to. Yeah, there we go. Because the courts
Opti
need somewhere
showed
to
up.
put people they don't like or don't want to be responsible for. They
Yeah.
need these. They need these enclaves of people to fester and show their citizens, hey, we're so awesome. We're providing you a much better lifestyle than these guys, and keep working for us. Keep working 80 hours a day for us, and funneling the money back into our corp.
Also,
keep you safe.
Whoever decided to clean things up, it would be quite an investment to do so. And what are they going to get out of it?
yeah, and I forget her name. The current mayor of Redmond, right, is still working on that project, and the Black Cross goes in there and offers aid and stuff like that. So people are still like trying to benefit from it. But I think the major powers that be don't want it cleaned up, right?
And plus, it's basically a breeding ground for Shadowrun talent as well.
Mhm.
And corps need those.
Yeah,
So-
agreed. Good Q&A, guys. Good Q&A.
Thank you,
nice,
Thanos.
Nice call. Thanks for
Yeah.
the call, Thanos.
Yeah, there
Had
you
a
go.
really sexy voice, that Thanos.
I agree. Okay, so we are on the main topic part of the show. We're going to be talking about artifacts. I liked Cassie. Cassie had thought of the name Magical MacGuffins, and the alliteration is amazing. But we're talking about artifacts. Yeah, artifacts. Artifacts are a special sort of thing in Shadowrun. So when you hear the word artifacts in the real world, we're talking about, just ancient artifacts. Oh, the collection in this museum, we've got all these old, here's the butter churn from 1523, And I don't know if a butter churn would really be an artifact, but you know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Here's
Butter
King
churn.
Tut's drinking glass.
You're looking at an Amish artifact museum, like.
The point is, it's not what they mean something very specific in Shadowrun, and they're kind of like valuable relics, and often, I mean, I think almost always somehow mystical or magical. Isn't that right?
Yeah, a lot of them have, if nothing else, gained power because of the events they've been a part of.
Sure.
And so many of them can be seen on the astral, and then some of them are legitly created or made by, you know, enchanters and other such people.
Or dragons.
Alchemists and stuff. Or dragons.
There's one that I know we should talk about in a moment, but
Okay.
But yeah.
I hope it's Dunkelzand's a fruitcake, because that's my favorite.
Well, I think that's actually where we're gonna go first.
Okay.
But yeah, they're often imbued with some sort of magical powers, either by accident or proximity or on purpose.
It's history.
Yeah, they're usually very, very ancient. Some of them, although I guess we don't have any freelancers on this episode, so we don't have to be afraid to say that they're connected to Earth Dawn, the fourth world. And oftentimes they date all the way back to there. So yeah, and one of them apparently is a fruitcake that used to be Dunkelzon's. Tell us something about that, Cassie.
Oh, I don't know if
would
it's
like to
really
know about this
considered
as
an
well.
artifact, but it is part of his will that he had somebody he kept giving a fruitcake to back and forth. It was like this battle to always make sure the other one got a fruitcake, and it's my favorite thing on that will, to be honest. That and the cookie recipe.
Even wasn't it like a contest, like the most ridiculous way to deliver fruitcakes? It just kept
Essentially,
going
yeah,
back.
it was just they would just constantly try to give it back and forth to each other. It's important.
Yeah, the one that I really Cassie's talked about this before. I really do like that idea of this game of fruitcake volleyball that they were playing.
I just want to know how many times I could do a roll with that fruitcake before somebody tried to eat a slice. Just
It sounds like this should be a tradition that we start doing on the Shadowcasters Network, where we all start delivering a fruitcake.
Oh,
to each other.
funny side story.
To each
Not
other.
quite fruitcake and possibly more inflammatory. We actually have a sort of a tradition among me and my old friends from high school. All the guys that I hung out with in high school, we're still great friends. But as we left college and started moving into our own places and stuff like that, we used to go to thrift stores all the time. And one of my friend Aaron just saw this like in a thrift store. No, it was in the dumpster of the thrift store. It was this painting of Hitler. And just and it was just like a bust, or not a bust because it wasn't a sculpture, but it was, chest up. It was just a painting.
Portrait,
He was
yeah.
like a portrait. That's the duh. So being being precocious college students, we had to have it. So we grabbed it. It was free, right? And it just sat in a corner somewhere for a while and stared at people. And we were eventually started thinking, why do we still have this? But every time someone would move, and you'd have like a housewarming party, right? The goal, the trick was to somehow smuggle that into the person's the person's new home and somewhere secret where they won't find it for like a long time.
Just in a random closet somewhere.
Yeah, but the fun thing is that we all know about this game now and we do it. But each person that it was done to, you never like told the rest of the people that's because you don't want to ruin it, right? So when it happened to me, when I moved into this house right here that I live in now, I had no idea that they'd been doing this. And it was just like had a housewarming party. And then like a month later, there's this dining room that we never do anything with. And I went in there one day and turned around and I was like, yeah! And there was Hitler just looking right at me. But anyway.
You've been harboring Hitler.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
The one I wanted to talk about, the artifact I wanted to talk about, which definitely is, or I wanted to mention I thought was cool, it definitely is magical, has to do with the dragons, the Jewel of Memory. You guys know about the Jewel of Memory?
Yes.
It's the great dragons. It's important to them. Apparently, it's like a memory crystal, whatever that means. Well, I guess what it means is it holds all the collective memories that all the dragons have of dragonkind, and that's how they preserve the lore and memory of all the dragons. And ownership of the jewel of memory is apparently what makes you, or gives you the title of lore master of the dragons. So currently that's Lofwyr, although I think that might be
Zeladir.
That's right, it changed.
Yeah, my understanding is Lofwyr was Dunkelzahn gave the jewel to Lofwyr, and then Lofwyr was like, you know what, I don't want this responsibility for whatever reason, and decided, here, Zeladir, you have it. That's my understanding of the story. I might be completely wrong.
He was like, here you go.
Yeah.
But it used to be Dunkelzahn's, because he was formerly. But yeah, I like this idea that, how does that work? You know, like, so what do they do with the jewel of memory? Do you guys know anything else about it, like how it works or what it's done? What do they do with it? Do they have to like
Magic, don't overthink it.
hold it up to their heads? And
No, it's probably just like a reverse alter memory spell, right? You just focus on the crystal and just think of everything you've ever.
So when a new dragon
magic.
when a new dragon is born, do they like sit on it for a while and absorb all the memories?
Yes, that's
yes,
exactly
sure.
what they do. They lick it. They go up to it.
Right.
They lick it.
They lick it.
And
Right.
it tastes like a Tootsie Pop, and then they walk away, and they know everything.
Oz, what's your what artifact do you like?
Well, from the classics, I really enjoyed the 4 coins of luck.
Oh yeah, those are cool. I've read about those before.
Yeah, they're like those Chinese relics, and each of them represent different things. Like one is wealth, one is longevity, one is fertility, and one is happiness. And apparently they are unlucky to sell. You have to actually give them away, or otherwise, like, you die. But having the coin of luck is really good for whatever coin you got. So, like, for example, the one that I know the most about is the fertility coin that went to Sharon Xiang-Wu, who is the wife of the CEO of Wuxing. Yeah. And because she was like barren, she was been trying to like have kids and stuff, and she ended up getting this coin, I think from Dunkelzahn directly, and ended up giving birth to quintuplets. And so those are important characters apparently in the lore. Or
Yeah,
characters,
I've
rather, in
heard
the
them
lore.
mentioned, and they're supposed to. I think the implication is that because they allegedly were you know, like their birth was facilitated by these coins, like there's something special about them. But something that is yet to be revealed.
There's even like a meta plot where I think one of them is missing, allegedly
Yes.
missing, but
Allegedly.
yeah.
Allegedly, like, so they weren't actually missing.
They have
Or is that a spoiler?
It's in Thought in the Shadows. No, it's not in the Shadows that she is missing, but in the public, she's still there.
Oh, okay.
So
I
they
see.
think that there's like a body double or something potentially replacing her, and excuses are being made in the family, sort of thing. But she's actually missing.
Right. And by missing, she might also be dead.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows where she is.
That missing includes that, I suppose. But there are tons and tons of artifacts, and I think we will talk about some more. You have something, Cassie?
I want to talk about the one that's actually my favorite, not
Oh.
just the cheesecake or the fruitcake.
Is it cheesecake or fruitcake? Come on.
The fruitcake. There's one that is the Sword of Osman, and it's on display of the mosque. That's what I was talking to you about. It's in Constantinople, and it cannot be removed from this mosque unless it desires to be removed.
Ooh.
The last time that extremists tried to steal it, they just all ended up knocked out unconscious. And
Whoa.
the blade had returned itself to the dais. Just it stays there.
And nobody
It's
knows
thought to have
why.
been created by it's thought to be created by Turkish alchemists, and it definitely can be seen on the astral. But it's like dates back to like the 12th century in the Ottoman Empire, which I think is the reason I like it, because it's something that's still like not so far back in our history that you can learn about Osman and who he is and what he did. And that thing
right.
has gone through so many powerful things, being the sword of the Ottoman Empire, that it has now become potentially a magical artifact. Or it may have been created beforehand by Turkish alchemists. They don't know. Anyway.
Alchemists.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So I want to talk about we have to not just talk about our favorite artifacts, we have to talk about. People want to know what are some ways to incorporate them into our games and tell cool stories with these things. And I think one of the easiest ways to do that is to talk about the groups that are often associated with these artifacts, right? Things like the Draco Foundation or the Dunkelzahn Institute of Magical Research or the Atlantean Foundation, stuff like that. So I want to talk about that. The Draco. Let's start logically. We just said the Draco Foundation. That segues. We'll segue into the next one nicely. They are all about artifacts because they're an organization that was kind of formed and founded because of, like, it's specifically, is it this one or the Magical Research one, or is it both that straight up
Dunkelzahn Institute was founded to take care of his will, and then the Dunkelzahn Institute of Magical Research.
Yes.
I did that right? Yeah, Magical Research. That one in particular is all about finding artifacts and capturing blood mages and all that kind of stuff around actual.
Yeah, all of it was detailed in his will. Like, he wanted to start the Draco Foundation, and then that was handled by Nadia Daviar.
Yes.
Nadia Daviar. Yeah. I always forget. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But but yes. So you have the Draco Foundation. I think the Draco Foundation is what deals with the will. Then the Dunkelzahn Institute of Magical Research was created under that in the will to do all that. So yeah, basically exactly.
And even though they very often compete against each other, the Draco Foundation and Atlantean Foundation, the Atlantean Foundation also heavily benefited from Dunkelzahn's will. And they are, I believe, on the board of the Draco Foundation, members of them.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently.
So they're very interconnected.
Yeah, no, apparently the DIMR has people from MIT&T, Atlantean Foundation, the NAN, Tiernanog.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. The DIMR.
So Tier Tangier, Caltech, UCLA, like basically the best of the best are like kind of pooled together to, I guess my idea here is if that happens, since even though they're competitors, I can only imagine like what goes on in those boardrooms. Like this, this really, really scary arcane threat has shown up, and we have research on it. Now we're all going to talk about it, and we're going to put our heads together to make sure that the world stays alive. I think that's maybe what they do.
And what I normally get from like the DMIR and the Atlantean Foundation is often that while they sometimes maybe are both looking for the same artifact or the same thing, they are still kind of on the good side of magic, right? They're often trying to stop blood mages or stop the Shadem from coming down and things like that. Versus, like Ordo Maximus of the Black Lodge and all those kind of more nefarious magical groups, right? They're the other side of it.
Fair. Yeah.
But so more generally, I guess, to make it clear the difference between the Draco Foundation was set to are they the ones that their like stated purpose is to
administer the will.
That's the word I was looking for. Administer the will, whereas the other one is about magical research.
Mm-hmm.
That's so what kinds of, I think that they're often painted as, and I could be wrong about this, I've always got the feeling that these organizations are sometimes painted as like nefarious or at least mysterious in some way. Do you guys get that feeling as well?
I feel like mysterious might be appropriate, but I don't know. Like the Atlantean Foundation, the closest thing I can think of that they remind me of is National Geographic. Like they are not a closed group. There are a lot of members. I think you just have to pay a fee to be a member of the Atlantean Foundation. So there's a lot of artifact hunters and academics and various type of people who, if not are members, at least like work and review that. And they also make tons of TRID stuff. Like that's why I think of them as National Geographic. They make TRIDs of people finding artifacts and searching for Atlantis and stuff like that. They're one of the bigger producers of exploration type TRIDs and stuff.
No, you're talking about the Atlantean Foundation now?
Yeah, the Atlantean Foundations.
Yeah.
They're a good one for that.
Yeah. They're neat because Atlantis and all. It's I like the idea of that fantastical kind of thing, but there's certainly lots of stuff to mine there. The fact that they can be at odds, you can certainly create runs out of that. I did for the complex action actual play. In a way, there was I set the seed for it and then never followed through. But there was an Atlantean Foundation thing going on there, and you can do that, and then have other people from the Draco Foundation, and I'm trying to think of, like, how do you get these guys incorporated into your campaigns,
Oh, easy. They're often hunting for things. So, and there's a number of Jackpointers if you like to get them involved as the Johnsons. Jane Frosty was key to the artifact hunt, or artifact dawn of artifacts and all of that. Artifact rush. That's what I'm going for. In 4th edition, you can recycle some of that. Get Aaron the Scribe involved, and they're using like a cool map in one of them to try to find a thing. So they're really good to use as a Johnson. I believe Winterhawk, I think, has Dunkel DMIR connections. It's been a while. And then Kellen Colt is an actual artifact hunter. She's a Jackpointer, and that's what she does. So, get her to hire some people to help me muscle, right? A great one. I like the intro they do with Frosty, because she just claims to be like, oh, I'm a Shadowrunner. I normally work alone, but this time I need some help, It's a really good way to put players along inside of it, with her to go do these things. And then, go fetch and find and deliver is always an easy one. And you can take any Indiana Jones plot, right? Or National Treasure, and throw people right into that.
And usually those artifact hunts have Shadowrun versus Shadowrunner team. That's always going to happen. Multiple people are going to want their hands on the MacGuffin, on the thing. And not just Shadowrun teams, but could also be, various other corporations and whatever. But you could have a whole complicated plot of different people just sending in their best to try and steal this thing from your team.
And if you like the typical Shadowrun cyberpunk urban environment, then go steal them out of people's research things. And it mentions that, and not to go any spoilers, but in Lethal Force, that the MacGuffin in that one, the magical MacGuffin, came from an Atlantean Foundation library, right? So you could have been the ones who broke in and stole that, give it to these people, and then run Lethal Force so that your runners see, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't always steal these things from Megacorps, because sometimes it has bad results. And that sucks, or do a dungeon crawl if you want to go exploring, right? You can definitely put a Shadem or bug spirits or some other creepy thing at the end of a dungeon crawl and pull some artifact out of a tomb or something, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell me about the Atlantean Foundations. They have a paramilitary arm, don't they?
Yes, the Mystic Crusaders. So essentially, they're right. The Mystic Crusade. Well, I mean, you have a place called the Atlantean Foundation that's trying to find Atlantis.
Right.
You're gonna have which apparently is a thing in Fourth World. So so Atlantis did exist, which means that they're not just looking for nothing.
Yeah, they're not a bunch of kooks.
Yeah.
It's a real thing in the Sixth World.
I feel like you have to think it's a real thing in the Sixth World, when literally just islands have popped up out of the ocean out of nowhere, and wolves came back to England, right?
That's fair.
But essentially, Mystic Crusaders, they're like this half knights, half relic hunter group, and they're basically they're secretive enough where people don't normally know about them. But they are basically they're fanatically devoted to the organization, to Atlantean Foundation, and they're generally autonomous of the Foundation, but it's possible that they work for the CEO, Sheila Blateska, I think her name is. Well, I don't know. I don't know who runs the Atlantean Foundation right now. I think it's Sheila Blateska. I might be wrong, but yes. So she yes, point is mysterious people working, mysterious knights.
Yeah, and
I don't know enough about them, but yeah.
They say that with a name like Crusaders, it makes me think of like paladins.
Yeah,
So-
and if you're looking for those kind of like groups too, like Street Grimoire is loaded with various magical groups. It would definitely. There's one the night or no, it's Silversteins, who are the ones in the Catholic
Sylvesterans,
Church.
Yeah, the
they're
Sylvesterans, the Order of Sylvesterans.
Oh, the Sylvestins,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's even a militant kind or like a crusader type arm underneath them. Like literally, you can go work for the Pope and find like a shroud or like artifacts related to Christianity and stuff, right?
Actually, now that you mentioned Christianity, I did find a really interesting reference to something called the Vigilia Evangelica, which is basically they're a secret clerical organization, and they have a motivation to safeguard the world from magic that's too dangerous. And so they have like this library that's been around since the death of Thomas Aquinas, with
Whoa.
like all of this whole collection of magical artifacts that that they don't want people to find. So yeah, if you need to steal dangerous things, infiltrate that.
That just reminds me of like the opening scene of like Hellboy, right? You could totally do that as a thing, like find some vicious paracritter and make it pop up in the museum when the runners are there.
Yes.
And apparently the Vigilia also has like deckers and stuff that scour. They like look around the Matrix to find anything that has to do with like anything that sounds really dangerous, to like remove it from the Matrix entirely, like just remove any traces of it, so like the word doesn't spread and more people try and get access to it and then ruin the and then kill the world.
Yeah, that's a good one. That would definitely be a good group to throw in at a group to make things disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that you could work for the Pope.
Yeah, that's 100% a thing.
It's going to be my next actual play.
The Catholic Church is big in the Sixth World still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm actually side note, join in kind of preview for Join the Anarchy next season. I know Turbo or Scrim, who plays Turbo, she wants to do a Christian theurgist mage, so I'm planning on dropping a couple of things there. And I know Relative Dimension is also doing like Catholic artifact hunters. They're doing a thing there, so that's an interesting.
Going full Vatican in a.
They're going full Vatican, so yeah.
Well, so we laugh, but that would be perfect for artifact hunting because the big thing is like, as technologies persecuted all the Christians and the Catholics whenever they took over. So you could definitely go back there and try to recover relics and different things from there, and then go on down south to like Bogota and Colombia and that kind of area. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
Stop the blood mages for the Pope.
Yeah, there's so much stuff. Are there other organizations before
yes. The APEP consortium, they have a headquarters in Cairo.
Sounds like
APEP.
Sounds like a gastrointestinal problem.
Yes, and they are headquartered in Cairo. So if you're doing anything that has to do with like the Mediterranean or Northern Africa, that might be if you want to kind of have that feel, try APEP consortium. That sounds like a fun group, and kind of gives me that more Indiana Jonesy Temple of Doom kind of feel.
That'd be a good one, especially with all the alchemists and stuff like that that's coming out of like Constantinople and the whole Middle East kind of area there. Really play up the enchanting and go pull these artifacts out for them. That'd be a good one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or do pyramid hunt, like pyramid.
Well, my history on Egypt and the Sixth World is a little vague, but I'm pretty sure they were really staunch anti-magic for a long time. So like doing artifacts there to recover those things that have been lost would really be huge.
Yeah.
Good plot.
And it would make sense that they would be there. Yeah. I don't know much about Egypt either, but yeah, that's another thread that that I'm sure could be followed to an interesting.
Yeah. Palmer in the chat room says, "Don't forget about the Aleph Society." Well, they're not. They're definitely a magical organization, so they could certainly be connected to artifacts. They're pretty crazy. They're dedicated. So right, they are aligned with and led by like this free spirit, right? I can't remember his name. Something Gaff. But they're kind of like all about spiritual enlightenment and unlocking magical potential for the world and all this kind of stuff. So certainly I could see how artifacts could be involved with them. They might need artifacts to do those things,
Would throw another one out. This isn't a plot hook in the books, but there is a combat knife that's noted in Streetcore More that is the Museum of Sioux history in Cheyenne. And I could imagine them hiring Shadowrunners or their benefactors hiring Shadowrunners to like recover Native American artifacts that might still be in like the UCAS. So that could be a fun one to grab those things and pull them back, start going to museums and whatnot.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, the point is, they're like artifacts in general. They're just there's so many of them. I mean, you are not at a loss when it comes to finding a good artifact and throwing it into your game.
So we've gone over some of like the canon ones, stuff like that. Do you guys throw like your own created ones in there? Because one of my favorite, it wasn't an artifact per se, one of my favorite magical items I gave my players was salt and pepper that they put on things and it made their food talk. So, right, do you throw any like creative artifacts at your players? Like
I've never actually messed with artifacts in any form at all. And in fact, I don't know why. You told me this story that you just referred to. You told me at Gen Con when we were sitting down, hanging out, and I loved that idea. Like, I wondered why I've never thought about just coming up with weird magical items before. So,
I mean, it's a fun one to like grab your Dungeon Master's Handbook and imagine that these are like artifacts from like the fourth world of sort of from D&D, right? And just use the same flavor. You don't even have to don't look for any of the mechanical ones per se. Look for the interesting ones that like do some kind of weird like thing, like an axe or a weapon of warning, right? Which will call out a warning if someone's close to you that's gonna surprise you or something. Like turn those into artifacts and get them, and let your players then play with these weird items that could exist in the world.
That's a fun thing.
Yeah, because not every artifact has to be a major plot, world threatening or world helping, major thing. It could be just that, and that sounds actually fantastic.
Do it.
Yeah.
And then let's go into, since not every artifact needs to be world frame, how about the ones that are? Shall we talk about stuff in Dark Terrors?
Oh man, absolutely. Hit me, Cassie.
I'm just throwing that in as a segue. No, one of my favorite ones, it's actually not in Dark Terrors, but I noticed the Dark Terrors like took this and ran with it, is I think starting in the end of 4th edition, there is a cup that there becomes this plotline with a Master Sigem named Ozzkore, and it continues on into 5th edition and up until just a few seasons ago, and one of them involves this cup that he uses to summon Shadem into our world by pouring blood in it. It's actually one of the Jackpointers, Kellen Colt, that is involved in it. That cup later shows up like in another season. You get it again and you'll end up doing a prime run that cup is yet again involved in, and will open a portal to the master plan of the Shadem. So that's a whole example of an artifact that went through several seasons of missions that came out. I think that's what it is. But anyway, so but I noticed that they took some of that, and that's a continuing plot in Dark Terrors, right? The dagger that the Shadem have that they are now using to try to summon more of their ilk here.
Yes. Yeah. So apparently the Shadem, like one of their, again, they're the mysterious things that take over people's bodies, or that are the mages that have actually projected and now they can't come back. But essentially, like, it seems like they're very interested in stuff that has artifacts, arcane items, and places of magical power. And so, yes, the Dagger of Hivas Set is apparently, right. Yeah, it has the power to raise the dead by being plunged into the heart of the deceased.
That's awesome.
There is resurrection, guys.
And that a Shadem then possesses your body and starts walking around.
But it's something.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. And so, so it leaves like a triangular scar over the heart of the person that you've resurrected. So that's, you can drop a little clues, like have people start showing up with like these triangles on their
I love it.
Hearts, and then you're like, wait, what's going on? And then finds out that it's the Shadem.
I love the Shadem. I love the Shadem. I do. I would be I would love Shadem Run. Let's just all about Shadem. Let's do it.
Well, Yeah, well, speaking of since we're kind of looping it back to Draco Foundation, the I know that the Draco Foundation is using artifacts as bait to draw Shedham out so that they can basically take him out.
Oh man,
so that's another way to kind of use Draco Foundation and Shedham in conjunction with artifacts. Sometimes it's just a rumor of an artifact is enough to get them.
I think the Atlantean Foundation is also spending a lot of money to do that, and actually the Mystic Crusaders are going after them. Right?
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Like, when people are putting out word of an artifact, you get a lot of interested parties. It's kind of like I think like smoking it, even though it has nothing to do with artifacts, smoking aces, everybody finds out there's this $1 million bounty on a guy, and then all of a sudden everybody wants in on it. It's kind of the same thing. There's a thing. Let's go get the thing before anyone else gets the thing, and then we have the upper hand. So,
artifacts are so rare and potentially powerful that you'd be, if you have the ability to do that, you'd be silly not to almost. That's at least probably what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in that case, like the really powerful artifacts, like the ones that they don't want anyone to know about, those are the ones that they have to keep like as tight under wraps as possible. But the shadows.
And that's a good way to segue into Arlish, who particularly is a dragon who is involved in a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't. If you're interested in looking for a run to throw your players into, I don't want to spoil it, but you should get Lethal Force. It is fantastic. It has artifact in it. It's the magical MacGuffin, and you'll get to meet so many cool things.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's another one who's collecting powerful artifacts and what like that, and potentially destroying some of them if she can to keep them from falling into the wrong hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Artifacts are somehow aren't the Sealy Court are often interested in artifacts as well, aren't they?
They aren't just interested. I mean, they basically are. They basically have a bunch of artifacts.
And there's a lot of collecting
revolves
them
around the tarot, I think. So
Yeah.
a lot of it.
Speaking of which, that's a big artifact thing now that was introduced, the Sixth World Tarot. It's not a lot is known about exactly what kind of power they have, though, is there?
Well, lore canon-wise, no. But Book of the Lost does detail a lot of different things that each card can do, as well as cards in conjunction.
Right, because the cards are powerful in and of themselves, but the deal with the decks are that if you take the different cards that are parts of decks, like the whole Cups deck, for example, or the Swords deck, if you were to get them all together, presumably together they're an even more powerful artifact. But that hasn't happened yet.
Right. So the way that they painted it is there's no way that your runner team is ever going to get their hands on all cards of the tarot deck, but just getting your hand on one is going to give you some interesting things. Like I know the dragon card, for example, you can do something with the card. I forgot what you have to do there's a specific trigger mechanism to the card, and then once you do it, and this is for any tarot card, but once you do that trigger mechanism, you get whatever effect. So like the dragon card is a one-way call to Lofweir, and Lofweir has to answer.
But it's only one way, right? So he can be on the other end, like rolling his eyes and cursing at you that you interrupted him while he's on the toilet.
No, I'm sorry. One way is wrong. I'm sorry. A one-time call.
Oh, one time. Okay. Ooh, use it wisely.
Yeah, but then obviously, like if it transfers ownership, then I guess you can call Lofweir again, or I don't know. But so the tarot deck is interesting because it's aside from what each of the cards in the major arcana do, which there's a whole list and it's all listed in Book of the Lost, so you can pick your favorite one and drop it in. Is that the actual deck that they sell at the conventions? Mm-hmm. They actually have a bunch of, and I don't have the deck, so I can't give it examples, but they do kind of explain it in Book of the Lost some. There's like a bunch of Easter eggs and puzzles in the cards themselves, in the images, and you can connect things to find to find information.
Yeah,
or to find
I know
something
that the
that's going on.
art in them, yeah, that's the Easter eggs you're talking about in the art of the cards. Our community member Eric DeMage, the one and only, he spent a lot of time trying to take those. Or when it first came out, he had a pet project where he was really trying to like dig deep into those cards and uncover some of that stuff. I haven't talked to him about that recently. Maybe he can tell us in the chat. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah, there's a lot going on in those cards, and some of it is, it's straight up puzzle, or other things are just, kind of interpretive. And the images of the card, the reason that it's the Sixth World Tarot is because there's images of things on the cards that, even though the Sixth World Tarot is rumored to have been around since the Fourth World, since the Fae have existed, the cards themselves take the image of things that exist currently. So it kind of gives the impression that maybe the card's images are actually mutable, like they can change.
Sure. And maybe
on
they're
what this
showing you
represents.
something that is yet to be. Ooh.
Yes. There's a lot. Yeah. I mean, they definitely drop a lot of hints. I can't say that I've dug into the plot lines very much to really find an arc yet. But one thing I know that they do is they do a lot of future, a lot of past, a lot of present. Like there's stuff happening with that, and you could really take any image of a card even from the deck and use that as an inspiration for a run that might have to do with that card.
Yeah.
One thing that might also interest you is you could work for Taco Temple or have something to do with Taco Temple. So when I found out about Taco Temple, or when I heard about Taco Temple, I was like, this sounds like I don't want to work for Taco Bell. This sounds really dumb. Like, why is this even in this book? But it turns out this is actually, I decided I'm going to read the chapter. I'm going to find out what this is about. Apparently, Taco Temple is on a bunch of Six World Tarot cards. And not only that, the Jackpointers, as they talk about the Taco Temple and the history, they are like, oh yeah, Taco Temple's been around forever. But then when they try to remember where the Taco Temples were in their past, like like they remember the first time they ever had that taste of the burrito, they don't remember where it is. They have a very vague picture. So it's almost like, on the appearance of this, what it's implying is that the appearance of the Sixth World Tarot has created Taco Temple,
this fast food chain,
in the collective consciousness. Yes. And what Taco Temple is actually supposed to be is an organization of people, because apparently also, this is the other thing, Taco Temple has really only been around in the books for a few years. And they've grown so quickly and exponentially to a point where it's not actually humanly possible to have that much growth in your production. So the impression that people are getting, or that they're kind of hinting at, is that they're a organization that is hunting or finding information on the Sixth World Tarot, but that was somehow created by I don't know.
Holy cow.
I don't know. It's still kind of up in the air, and question marks are all over the place. But I think it was kind of a way to justify the insertion of Taco Temple into the lore, because Taco Temple has never existed before in any of the previous editions, to my understanding. But say that it's always been around, like Taco Bell. Taco Bell's always been around. Oh, no, it actually hasn't. So, yeah. So that's a thing. And
that's really amazing.
Big deal.
That's really fun. I like that idea. Taco Temple. Sacrifice your taste buds on the altar of flavor.
I like to think that that's been the whole mystery of blood magic that as technology's been doing. It's just to make the greatest taco franchise ever.
I love that.
Actually, I think I remember reading that Taco Temple might not even actually belong to Az Technology. I think everyone thinks it belongs to Az Technology, but it doesn't.
Really? It belongs.
I might be wrong, but yeah, it's Taco Temple.
It belongs to the Shadim. That's my theory.
But it might. Who knows? It might belong to the Unseelie Court. Who knows? I don't know. But in addition to the Taco Temple, information on those cards is also really important. So there's a P2.0 site called DealerNet that's kind of like the main hub of information that you might want on those things, but it's kind of like the Reddit of the Sixth World Tarot. So people are just, they could put whatever they want, or the Wikipedia, they can put whatever they want in images, and there might be lots of misinformation and fake news on it, but whatever. It's kind of a starting point. And there's a radio show called Neon Ascension. It's like a pirate radio show, and they like to do Sixth World Tarot episode cards, or card episodes, where they like just talk about the cards, and you can get some information from them. So,
pirate radio.
Yeah.
Shadowrun podcasting. That's what it is. It's kind of like what we do.
Basically, yeah. It's Neon Ascension.
We need to do some more episodes on Sixth World Tarot. They'll be really popular, Cassie. Oh.
And then, of course, there's lots of other people that are interested in those. Like, everybody wants these cards, corporations to whoever, and even straight down to this was an interesting tidbit I found. I actually made a connection, and I'm really excited about just
do tell.
So in Book of the Lost, the Seattle Halloweeners leader, Nightmare, was mentioned as somebody who had a card or two, and that Rubia, who Cassie said is like kind of the dragon leader of Redmond, is also interested in these cards. And so one thing that ended up coming out in Dark Terrors was that that Ordo Maximus traded a redacted person in the Halloweeners gang an item called 6WT-PB for an artifact that the Halloweener had, that we should definitely go into because it sounds interesting. But anyway, they called it 6WT, and like that's Sixth World Tarot. Sure. And then I'm like, okay, PB, maybe that means like Page of Batons or Page of Blades, because I was looking at all the cards and I'm like, nothing stands for PB, right? So then I did that. So I'm like, okay, let me find every mention I can find about these things. And I found that the Page of Blades, if you combine it with a couple of other Blades cards and a card called the Ride, creates something like, if you put all of the jewels on the swords on those cards together, like on top of each other, I think, and then drop some blood on it, it creates the Crystal Blood Blade. And it's like this magical sword that whenever you hit someone with it, half the damage that you deal, you heal, but then those wounds reappear in the next morning. So you have to keep killing things with this sword to to stay active. So it sounds like Nightmare is trying to collect the cards for the Crystal Blood Blade, which would be nightmarish. So I think I have that arc solved there. And that's an interesting plot line. And since so many of us do runs in Seattle and in Redmond and stuff, that's a really easy way to inject the Sixth World Tarot and the Halloweeners and stuff. Like, you could be doing runs to help collect the missing parts of the cards, or maybe he already has the cards and he has the sword, and now, oh shit.
Yeah. Holy cow.
I'd like to also mention in Dark Terrors the Watch, which may be a magical artifact that's been melted, crushed, dropped to the bottom of the ocean, and it just remakes itself and calls out to people to come get it. Like, it's just a really good, like, vague mystery one, right? You could just throw in for a while, and then when you need a run, just be like, there's this watch at the bottom of the ocean. There's this thing calling you at the bottom of the ocean, and then you go down there.
You
It's
have
like,
no
I have a
idea
pocket
why
watch. Like, yeah.
You feel that.
What's interesting about the
You
watch,
just get the impulse to keep asking what time it is. People
what's
watch.
interesting about the watch is because you're holding this watch, you have a lot of fortune, but it feeds off of the fortune of the people around you, and then it creates misfortune around the people around you. So like, all of your loved ones start like getting diseases or getting poor or whatever, like, and unhappiness or suicide, and like all of that stuff starts happening around you, but you're getting all the benefits. So then people are like, I don't know if I want this anymore because all my loved ones are suffering.
Yeah.
Even though I'm doing great. So that's an interesting plot hook.
And then there's the One Ring.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah.
There are so many artifacts. You said you had mentioned one in relation to the when you were talking about the 6WT PB. That card, presumably that card was traded for, what was it?
Was traded for something that is only known currently as item AZ57. Sorry, item AZ57. This was this came out in Dark Terrors just recently, and this was a report that they filed. Basically, the Ordo Maximus, which is the secret society of like powerful vampires. I want to say. Yeah.
They're a powerful magic old blood and like royal families with titles and stuff like that. But at the heart, they have vampires.
Yeah, there are lots of vampires basically. They've been collecting a bunch of artifacts, and then something that they found was this thing called item A7, or rather, this came from the Halloweener. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. The Halloweener. So sorry. The Halloweener traded something called the Bermondsey statue, also known as the Idol of Shamash. And essentially, sorry, I was going to jump into a different thing. So the idol is a small statue that's made of like pale green stone, and the way that it sounds, it's the elder god Shamash, which to me just sounds like this is the Cthulhu statue. Basically, this stuff has to do with like the elder gods of like Lovecraftian lore, and so essentially what it's been credited to do is it created a stable alcora in the area of Redmond known as in city in Redmond. And so that alcora recreated England circa 1849. And that's happening apparently in Glow City. And it's
wait. It's recreating like full scale England?
Yes, it is recreating it's recreating 1849 England. I don't know. I guess it's like
I'm confused. Is it creating a like portal to, or is it like a miniature version?
Maybe Cassie can elaborate on what an alcora is, because I always get these terms mixed up.
The Altera are just like these. They just appear out of like astral space, and they'll be full scale and look real. So there's been like islands in the Sound that just show up.
Oh, that's right.
I think the Sears Tower just has been destroyed, and it will just show back up at the anniversary of its destruction. Things like that. So they're astral space that opens up, and they're real, and you can interact with them. But you never know when they're going to disappear. So they're always a little dangerous to go there.
So you can physically interact with them.
It's physically there. So it's a full scale London, like, essentially.
Interesting.
Until it disappears.
In Glow City.
Yeah, it'll actually displace other stuff if it's there. So that, it's 100%. You can go walk around there if that's what it is.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently the statue itself also causes it causes uncontrollable urges, such as murderous impulses, sacrifices, loss of higher brain function, lack of impulse control. Basically, you start going mad and become a elder god cultist.
So that's what Erubia traded for, is what you're saying?
That's what I think Nightmare traded for, the six-world tarot card, because it says redacted of the Halloweeners gang, and Erubia is not necessarily part of the Halloweeners gang.
No, that's what I mean is
Erubia
now possesses that statue. Is what you're saying?
The Ordo Maximus got that statue and they traded the Six-World Tarot card to Nightmare. Or rather, to whoever this person was in the Halloweeners gang. It's redacted, but I'm reading between the lines here.
Sure.
So
I just wonder, like, what do they want with that? Something that can do that.
They're collecting a lot of weird, crazy stuff. So another thing that they collected was the item AZ57 that I talked about, which is basically like this monolith, like this 10-foot black obelisk. And the way that they've described it is they have to keep it in this a facility away from any possible magical artifacts for I don't know how many meters, and the thing that it does, just double checking my notes, is so when Halley's Comet showed up, it was just like this random mundane kind of stone. But when the comet showed up, it suddenly started glowing and got like orichalcum veins.
Ooh.
And ever since then, there's it seems to amplify mana. It either stores mana or amplifies it, and they've been doing like experiments on it to see like how to exactly use it. But apparently 132 arcane scientists are now dead because
oh my god.
But anyway, they've it apparently has relation to hitherto undiscovered artifacts known as Melthalem. And so that seems to be kind of an elder god story plot arc that they're starting to go for now that elder god worship was introduced in Forbidden Arcana.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So much stuff. Cassie, give me another one before we close out, one that you might be interested in. We let Oz go on and on. It was great. I'm not criticizing.
I think I've done most of the ones that I was really touched on a lot. For the older ones, yeah, I think that's good. The only thing I was going to say with Ordo Maximus, I really like that Victorian England kind of stuff because Ordo Maximus is really painted as being sort of like the Victorian styled old blood vampires, right? There's even like a Van Helsing type guy who's running around murdering them, like you could read
Martin
in Hard
Debris.
Targets.
Yeah.
Right, so he's a good one. No, I can't.
I like dragon stuff. That's why I mentioned the egg.
Yeah. I want to talk about the MacGuffin in Lethal Force, but I don't want to give away spoilers. That's probably one of my favorite ones because it introduces one of the scariest things my players have ever encountered. They flipped the fuck out and ran away after 3 of them died. And it's mentioned in Dark Terror is what the destroyers, but
well, you should check that out because that sounds interesting. I like the ones that aren't necessarily like specifically spelled out what they do, that are just kind of like like evocative and mysterious, like a dragon thing, the dragon heart. You guys familiar with the dragon heart?
No,
I've heard of it.
It's
tell me.
It's like a model of a dragon heart, but it's made out of orichalcum, and it's got 4 chambers and everything, and it's normally apparently it's supposed to be empowered and in cycles with the cycles of magic and everything, but it was supposedly empowered, I guess, early, and it's thought to have been empowered by Dunkelzahn's death because of through a bunch of blood magic related to Dunkelzahn's death. And I like just it being there, what does this thing do? Yeah. It's interesting.
I really like the items my players can interact with, and it's not about gaining power or money or any of the mechanical type stuff. It's just something to touch. And one of the favorite things I can remember is, I think this is canon, or maybe my GM made it up, but it was the Sealy Court have the keepers, and they use coins to keep people's memories. Mm-hmm. So stealing one of those or using those in a run can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the keepers are they're kind of like the Sealy Court Matrix, right? So they're the ones that they're the computers of the Matrix. They're just basically these mindless slave people that just kind of walk around and store archives.
I always kind of think of them too, if anybody who's ever read the Dresden Files and who's ever gotten far enough to meet the archive, the little girl who is just the keeper of all information. Everything. She knows everything.
Although I think in this case, I think in this case, they're the keepers. They're assigned to a specific person in the court, and then they
Yeah, they're very much like couriers who write the history.
It's almost like they're the comlink, right? They have all of their master's information, and then they're the ones that kind of hold. And so you want to hack if you want to have information on a specific person in the court, you want to hack their keeper. So.
I like it. We could go on and on, but we have to end the episode. Artifacts, man, what a deep dive, and we didn't even really scratch the surface. If you go go Google Shadowrun artifacts. There's like a whole list of a wiki page of ones we didn't even mention or talk about. So, you know, like, artifacts are fun. I think I agree with you, Cassie. I think you've changed my mind that the best artifacts are the ones that are like fun little doodads for your players to play with.
Play with it.
Yeah, don't give them a bag of holding though. That's just asking for trouble. But yeah, we always give our guests an opportunity to plug stuff. So I know Oz, of course, has lots of stuff that he wants to plug. We have Join the Anarchy has just finished up, right? So where can people find that stuff if they're interested in that?
All right, so if you want to check out Join the Anarchy, we're an improvised Shadowrun Anarchy actual play that we do here on Twitch. So it's completely interactive, and you get to help us make the story as we go. All of our videos are up on YouTube. That would complete season 1. Then we're going to, actually, funny enough, since we've been talking about the court, we'll be going back in January with the Court of Shadows. Join the Anarchy Court of Shadows. We're going to do like a short 4-session arc set in the court, and then after that we'll start campaign 2. And then we're also going to do a cast party on December 11th for season 1, so join us for that so we can talk all kinds of what went down. And
yeah, if you're a fan of the stuff, check out that cast party. That's going to be really fun.
Yep. And I'm also going to be doing another Jackbox party hack night, streaming that on December 18th, I want to say. Am I right? December 18th, Monday.
I think so, yeah. And that was by all accounts, I wasn't able to really listen to but like 10 minutes of it in the middle, but by all accounts, that was very popular. You and Trav doing just playing with people on the stream. If you guys aren't familiar with Jackbox, you get like a little link and you can go. There's just a website. You get to interact with Oz and Trav, and you get to actually play with them on the stream. So
yeah, it's like a party game, and everyone's invited. So we all play together.
Yeah.
And you can just play on your phone or your tablet or whatever.
It sounded super fun, and I know the people watching really loved it. So you should definitely check that out. Cassie, what's going on with you?
I want to plug the Emerald Grid Twitch stream, Twitch TV/Emerald Grid, and I'm particularly going to plug on Wednesdays. We are playing Curse of Strahd, and Alan is one of the best GMs I've ever played for, and it's fantastic. And come check that out. It is creepy.
Yeah.
We can watch us struggle with the Death House and get out of there. We'll be off next Wednesday, but every Wednesday after that we'll be there.
Awesome. And I am, of course, I like to always plug the Head Cases show that we're doing, the Shadowrun Chronicles Boston Lockdown show that me, Mr. Johnson of the Arcology podcast, Damien of the Violent Life podcast, and Opti of the Neo-Anarchist podcast. We're all playing Shadowrun Chronicles every other week. Next one we're doing is on Thursday, and this coming a week from today. So we play opposite weeks of this podcast. And so that's really fun. But what's even more exciting to me is that on December 8th, we are going to be doing a one-shot game of the new My Little Pony Tales of Equestria RPG. It's going to be run by Joe Russell of the Relative Dimension podcast. He's going to run a game for me, for Mr. Johnson, for Cassie of Original Box Set, not this Cassie, but the other Cassie, and Rainbow Smite of Hidden Grid fame, and then who am I forgetting that I'm going to be a jerk for forgetting? Paige, of course, Paige, of Join the Anarchy. She's finally, I'm really excited about her being there because she was supposed to plan another thing that we did at one point, and for technical reasons she couldn't be a part of that. So I still haven't gotten to get her doing some fun stuff with us, but we're going to be playing ponies, and it's going to be super fun. So show up for that. We're really excited about it. And yeah, if that's really successful, we might do some more with it. So show up, please. Anything else? Otherwise, we're going to head out. I think that's it. So
We've got an after party, right?
yes. So stick around, live people. If you've been here before, you know the drill. If you're new, hello, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the show. Stick around for a little while after I do the thing. Don't run off, because we do an after party where we just sit around and hang out and talk and ask questions. If you have questions for us, it could be about anything. Oz is here. Ask him about lots of stuff. But we just chit-chat and hang out. So join us after the show here. But for now, if you want to contact us on the show, you can tweet us at 6world, the number 6world podcast. Email us at theshow at 6worldpodcast.com. Our website is 6worldpodcast.com. The outro music you're about to hear is by Johnny Nuclear and the Meltdowns. Our logo artwork was by David McDermott. You can find him at 6worlddesigns.tumblr.com. And from me, Cassie, and Oz, bye-bye, and thank you for watching. Say goodbye, everyone.
Adios.
Bye.
When the days have gone dark and the sky's turning gray, everybody in the world, they're just staying enslaved to technology's machines. We just feast for the screen, lost in reality, can't find peace in your dreams. Society sodomized by the lies and the greed, addicted to the tech corpse keeping us weak. We wheel and deal for them and now we're waging the wars.
I never intend for the